You've been waiting for the apology, waiting for the explanation, waiting for them to understand, waiting for it to make sense, to be made right, to be rewritten in a way that doesn't ache when you remember it. But I must tell you something that may at first unsettle your mind and yet liberate your spirit. You don't need closure. You never did. What you need is release. You need to let go. Not because they were right, not because it didn't hurt, not because it doesn't still echo in the chambers of your heart, but because your soul is not designed to be held hostage by a past it did not choose. Closure is a concept of the mind, a narrative construct, a way to put a bow on what will never be tidy. The mind seeks it like a final page in a storybook, as if healing requires punctuation. But the soul does not need an ending. The soul is infinite, and in the infinity of your being, there is no door that needs closing, only a sky that longs to open. When you demand closure, you are asking for something external to complete something internal, and therein lies the trap. You are handing your peace to something outside of you, and as long as you do that, you are a prisoner of someone else's timing, someone else's remorse, someone else's growth that may never come. But release is yours. Always, right now, in this breath. It is a spiritual decision to no longer carry what was never yours to begin with. Release is not forgetfulness, it is not denial, it is not spiritual bypassing. It is the conscious decision to bless the past without dragging its weight. It is not saying it didn't matter. It's saying it mattered deeply, and I choose to be free anyway. You have tried to make sense of it, combed through memories like a forensic detective looking for where the love went cold, where the truth was bent, where the fracture first began. But that search has not led to peace, because peace is not found through dissection, it is found through surrender. What if it never makes sense? What if their pain was the only language they knew? What if their silence was their own wound, speaking louder than words? Can you live without the full translation? Let me ask you this. Would you rather understand, or would you rather be free? The ego says, I need to know. The spirit says, I am willing to let go. The ego says, they need to make it right. The soul says, I no longer need their words to validate my healing. Release is a return to yourself, to your wholeness, to the you that existed before the wound. It is not about them. It never was. Your healing is your own. There is a sacred space within you, untouched by betrayal, unchanged by loss. It is the part of you that knows peace without condition. It is the divine core of your being that doesn't need a reason to radiate light. But when you keep reaching backward, you're walking away from that sanctuary. You are facing a door that may never open, while behind you stands the open sky of your becoming. To release is to stop resisting what has already happened. It is to stop demanding that the past be different, because it won't be. It is to stop replaying scenes that were never meant to be repeated. Because what keeps hurting you is not what happened, but the story you keep feeding. It is the resurrection of the pain in your own mind that drains you. So much of suffering is not the original wound, but our refusal to let it die. We resurrect it with thoughts. We keep it alive with resentment. We visit it like a shrine. We replay conversations like echo chambers, and the ego, clever and convincing, says this is strength. But strength is not holding on. Strength is release. Strength is the softness that says, I deserve to be at peace now. You were not born to carry everything. You were born to be a vessel of light, and light is weightless. Do you see? You don't need the end of their chapter to write your next one. You don't need the missing piece to make yourself whole. You are not a puzzle that needs solving. You are a soul that needs unburdening. There is no closure for pain that came from unconsciousness. There is no closure for someone else's inability to love. There is no closure for injustice. There is only release, only grace. Only the surrender of your grip on what cannot be held. Imagine your pain as a rope you've been clenching. You've been calling it justice. You've been calling it memory. You've been calling it loyalty to your story. But it is only tension, only contraction, only a slow erosion of your energy. And what if in this very moment you could open your hand? What if the rope was never holding you, you were holding it? The moment you decide you no longer need anything from the past to be free, you are free. Release is a spiritual practice. It is the moment you say, I bless what was, I honor what it taught me, and I walk forward, not because I am finished, but because I am willing. Letting go doesn't mean you condone. It doesn't mean you approve. It doesn't mean you forget. It means you choose your aliveness over your attachment to what hurt you. It means you choose your present over your obsession with the past. It means you are no longer available for suffering dressed as justice. Closure asks for something to change outside you. Release asks for something to awaken within you. That awakening is not loud, it is not dramatic, it is quiet, gentle, a slow loosening of the knot in your heart, a whisper from within that says, come home now. You've grieved long enough. You've circled this mountain long enough. You've waited at that locked door long enough. And if you listen, really listen, you will hear something deeper than your pain. You will hear the sound of life beckoning you, the sound of wings unfolding, the sound of your own soul rising. And it will not ask for permission. It will not ask if they apologized. It will simply say, it's time. It's time. Time to unclench your fists. Time to stop arguing with ghosts. Time to stop negotiating with your suffering. Time to come back to the place inside that knows the past cannot imprison you unless you keep returning to yourself. You are not what happened to you. You are what you choose to become. You are not the one who was betrayed. You are the one who is healing. You are not the one who is broken. You are the one who is rising. You are not the character in their story. You are the author of your own. You don't need closure. You need release. And release begins now not with answers, but with willingness. Not with understanding, but with surrender. Not with justice, but with grace. Release does not mean weakness. It means you have remembered who you are. A soul cannot be diminished by another's inability to love. A light does not lose its brilliance because someone closed their eyes. And so I say again, let it go. Not for them, for you, for your peace, for your joy, for your freedom, because you were never meant to stay in the waiting room of someone else's healing. The mind will resist this truth. It will protest. It will plead for more time to analyze. It will whisper that if you just understood why, if you just found the missing puzzle piece, then and only then could you finally be free. But freedom doesn't come at the end of a mental equation. Freedom is not the reward for figuring it all out. Freedom is the reward for letting it all go. Your spirit does not speak in the language of blame. Your soul does not argue with the past. It lives in presence. It breathes in release. It expands in surrender. And it longs for you to remember what it has always known, that nothing and no one outside you has the power to chain your light unless you give them the key. There is something sacred in no longer needing to prove anything, no longer needing to be understood, no longer needing to be right, because the truth is not threatened by misunderstanding. The truth is not dependent on validation. The truth simply is. And when you begin to live from the truth of who you are, not the pain, not the story, not the identity forged in wounds, but from the truth that is eternal, spacious, unbroken, then you begin to live free. Release is a spiritual initiation. It requires trust. Trust that even if the past never apologizes, you can still bless your future. Trust that even if they never see your worth, it does not diminish your radiance. Trust that even if there is no justice in the world, there can be justice in your soul, the justice of choosing peace when you could have chosen poison. And isn't that the greatest power of all? To walk away not in anger, not in bitterness, not in pride, but in love. To say, I release you, and in doing so, I release me. Because we are always releasing ourselves. The grudge we hold is not anchored in them, it is anchored in us. It is our energy that is consumed, our sleep that is disturbed, our joy that is diluted. And so when you release, you are not letting them off the hook, you are unhooking yourself from their unconsciousness. There is no healing and hoping they'll one day understand. There is only waiting, and the soul is not here to wait. The soul is here to awaken. You must ask yourself, who am I without this pain? Who am I without this grievance? Who am I without the identity I've built around what they did? And the answer may frighten you because it means giving up the familiar suffering. But it will also liberate you because it means remembering the self that was never damaged to begin with. That self is still here, beneath the layers, beneath the protection, beneath the armor you put on after the heartbreak, after the betrayal, after the loss, the self that cannot be defined by abandonment, the self that cannot be erased by rejection, the self that was always whole, always enough, always free. Let me remind you of this. The wound is not who you are. It is where the light has entered. Yes, but you are the light, not the wound. You are the space through which pain passes, not the pain itself. And you can bless the path that brought you here without staying chained to it. Release is the medicine. Release is the miracle. Release is the moment you say, I no longer need to hold this to prove it mattered. It mattered, but your life matters more. Letting go is not a betrayal of your experience, it is the honoring of your evolution. Release is not something you do once, it is something you practice, moment by moment, with each thought that says, but you choose again, I release. With each story that replays the wound, you choose again, I release. With each urge to reopen the old conversation in your head, you choose again, I release. Until one day, without fanfare, without drama, it is simply gone. The hook is gone, the sting is gone, the need is gone. And in its place, peace. Peace does not roar. Peace whispers. Peace waits patiently for your return. It does not chase you. It does not demand your attention. It is simply there like a still lake, waiting for you to stop throwing stones. And when you finally stop, when you place your feet on the ground of now and declare, I am done living through the echo of what they could not give, the stillness becomes audible. And in that stillness, you will meet yourself again. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are not behind. You are in process. You are in shedding. You are in remembering. You are not who they said you were. You are who you decide to be when you finally put it down. Put it down, the shame, the blame, the endless looping of what you should have said, the fantasy of what they could have become, the rewriting of the scene, the needing it to be different. All of it, lay it at the altar of your awakening, light a candle in your heart, and walk forward. You don't need closure. You need a beginning. You need the breath you haven't taken because your lungs were too full of grief. You need the dream you buried under resentment. You need the laughter that has been waiting at the edges of your healing. You need to remember joy, because joy is not a reward, it is your nature. Joy is not something you earn once the past behaves. It is the birthright of your soul. And every moment you choose release, you choose to return to that joy, the kind of joy that doesn't need a reason. Your healing is not conditional on anyone else's behavior. Your peace is not on layaway waiting for them to change. You can choose it now. You can rise now. You can walk out of the story now, not because it's finished, but because you are. And yes, the mind will try to pull you back. It will try to convince you that you are abandoning something important, but you are not abandoning anything. You are liberating everything. You are releasing your attachment to the narrative that says your worth is connected to their actions. It never was. You were whole before the wound. You are whole now. The wound simply asked you to remember. The pain was never the enemy. It was the awakening. But now that you are awake, You do not need to stay in the fire. You can step out, you can breathe again, you can choose softness over struggle, grace over grasping, release over revenge. This is not weakness, this is wisdom. And the wisdom of the soul says this: you are not here to carry what was never yours. You are not here to convince anyone of your value. You are not here to wait for someone else's healing before you begin your own. You are not here to find closure. You are here to be free. And freedom lives in release. There is no glory in carrying pain like a badge. There is no nobility in staying hurt to prove how deep the wound was. The wound does not need a witness. The wound needs your willingness to walk beyond it. Because staying in the pain to make a point only turns your soul into a courtroom. And you, the eternal witness of divine truth, are not meant to live on trial. The soul is not here to win arguments. It is here to awaken. So release the need to be understood. Not everyone has the eyes to see you. Not everyone has the heart to hold you. But that does not mean you are unworthy of love. It means that their perception is not your prison. And it never was. Release the fantasy that they will return and say all the right words. They might not. And if they do, it may come too late, long after the version of you that needed that apology is gone. Because healing is not waiting at that door. Healing is waiting inside your own heart where the key was always yours. Release the weight of proving you were right. What does it serve you now? How does it help to be righteous and miserable? You could be free instead. You could be joyful. You could be whole right now if you simply chose to stop needing the past, to align with your expectations. You see, closure is rooted in expectation, but release is rooted in acceptance. Closure asks, why did this happen? Release asks, what is this here to teach me? Closure says, until they see, I can't move on. Release says, I move forward because I choose to. Closure waits, release walks. Closure needs words. Release needs willingness. You don't need their words. You need your own affirmation, your own compassion, your own radical choice to reclaim your life from the hands you once gave it to. And maybe that's the real truth. You don't need closure because nothing was ever closed. You were never truly cut off from the love that created you. You were never severed from the infinite peace that lives within you. The pain didn't break you, it broke the illusion that anything outside of you could define your worth. That is what the pain was, for not punishment, not proof of your flaws, but awakening. A call to return to yourself, a divine invitation to see where you were giving away the power that was always yours. And if the pain was your teacher, then release is your graduation. Release says, I have learned what I needed to learn. I see the pattern. I recognize the mirror. I bow to the lesson. And now I rise. Let this be the moment you rise. You have mourned long enough. You have wept over the same memory enough times. You have picked the wound enough times. Let it heal. Not with bitterness, not with indifference, but with reverence. With the wisdom that knows even this pain was part of the path. And now the path calls you forward. Not because you're finished, not because it doesn't still hurt from time to time, but because your spirit has chosen the higher road. The road of letting go, the road of love without attachment, the road of peace without condition. Let them go. Not because they were right, but because you are ready. Let the story go. Not because it didn't matter, but because your new chapter matters more. Let the version of you who needed that closure dissolve into the light. Because that version was never your final form. That version was simply part of the unfolding. And now the petals open wider. Now the sun reaches deeper into your being. Now you remember what you forgot, that you are already whole, already worthy, already free. You were never broken, only buried beneath layers of misunderstanding, beneath projections and pain, beneath stories that were never yours to carry. But now you are emerging, not as someone fixed, not as someone better, but as someone who remembers. You remember that you are light. You remember that you are peace. You remember that you are not the story. You are the space that holds it all. And in that space, everything is allowed. The tears, the longing, the confusion, the anger. Let them come. Let them pass through. Let them teach you. But do not let them build a home. Do not let them become your identity. You are the witness, not the wound. And this is where the power lies. In choosing to be the witness. In choosing to be the presence that watches the storm but is not moved by it. In choosing to say, I see the pain and I bless it, but I do not become it. Because you can bless and release. You can forgive and let go. You can learn and not look back. And if you do, if you truly commit to the practice of release, you will feel something extraordinary. Not a rush, not a high, but a deep, steady peace. A quiet knowing. A profound stillness that no apology could ever give you. A freedom that cannot be touched by circumstance. That is the reward of release, not closure. Closure is a myth, a dangling carrot of the ego that promises peace if only everything aligns. But life rarely aligns perfectly. People rarely grow on your schedule. The past rarely rewrites itself in ways that make sense. And so the spiritual path is not to wait for perfect understanding, but to live from perfect presence. And presence does not need closure. Presence only needs now. So come back to now, this breath, this moment, this opening in your chest where the light pours in. Come back again and again until release is no longer something you do, but something you are. You are the release. You are the letting go. You are the divine expression of surrender in motion. And every time you choose peace over story, every time you choose presence over pain, every time you choose love over needing to be right, you become the embodiment of freedom itself. You don't need closure. You never did. You need to remember that nothing outside of you can complete what is already whole within. And when you arrive in that sacred place of release, truly arrive, you begin to see with different eyes. Not the eyes of the body, but the eyes of the spirit. You no longer try to rewrite the past. You no longer negotiate with what has already been written. You no longer cling to what has already gone. You simply bless it, and you bless yourself for surviving it. You stop needing the apology. You stop needing the explanation. You stop needing the one who hurt you to also be the one who heals you. Because now you know, healing was never theirs to give. It was always yours to claim. You can love someone and still let them go. You can honor what you went through and still walk away. You can remember what it taught you without reliving what it cost you. That is the quiet, sacred power of the soul to carry the lesson and release the weight. And what you begin to realize in that holy moment of surrender is that there is nothing missing, nothing lacking, nothing left undone. Because what you were truly seeking was never closure. It was freedom. It was peace. It was the lightness of no longer needing the story to change in order for you to live. And now you are living. Now you are breathing. Now you are awake. Release is not forgetting. Release is remembering who you were before the pain. It is returning to your natural state, one of wholeness, of grace, of truth. Release is not an erasing, it is an embracing of your power to choose. And your choice now is this. I choose to be free. I choose to be at peace. I choose to live untethered to what no longer serves me. You no longer wait for them to return. You no longer stand at a closed door. You no longer need closure because you have chosen release. And release is the end of waiting. It is the end of bargaining. It is the end of suffering disguised as justice. Release is your return to the truth. And the truth is this: you are not broken. You are not behind. You are not waiting for your healing. You are the healing. You are the open sky. You are the still water. You are the divine presence that cannot be harmed by what was temporary. You are what remains when everything else fades. So lay it down now, all of it. The questions, the stories, the weight. Lay it down. Not because it didn't matter, but because it mattered so much, you now choose to honor it by letting it rest. And in that letting go, you do not collapse, you rise. You rise into your becoming. You rise into your peace. You rise into your power. You rise because you finally understand closure is something the mind begs for, but release is what the soul came here to master. This is your moment, your turning point, your liberation. You don't need closure. You never did. You need to remember who you are, and you are already free. There is a gentle voice within you that has never been heard. A quiet, unshaken whisper that existed long before the wound and will remain long after the story. That voice does not call you a victim. That voice does not carry your name like a broken badge. It calls you whole. It calls you light. It calls you free. But somewhere along the path of pain, you accepted a name that was never yours to carry. You were not born a victim. You were not made for labels. You are not the sum of what someone else did to you. You are not your abandonment. You are not your betrayal. You are not your childhood. You are not your trauma. You are not the absence of love. You are the presence of healing. When a soul forgets its origin, it clings to identity. And the loudest identity in this world is often the one wrapped in pain. Because pain is loud, suffering is seductive, and the ego builds thrones from it. But the truth is quieter. The truth never yells. It doesn't need to. It simply waits patiently, silently, like the sun waits behind the clouds, knowing they will pass. There is no power in identifying as the one who was wronged. There is only delay. There is only stagnation. There is only the eternal loop of waiting for something to be made right in a world that cannot undo what has already been done. You cannot wear the label of victim and expect to rise. You cannot hold on to your story of pain and expect your wings to open. You cannot dance with freedom while dragging the heavy chains of a self that never truly belonged to you. The past cannot define you unless you let it. And the story you tell yourself about your life is not the truth. It's just a version of events colored by the emotional ink you dipped your pen in. If that ink is blame, the story will be bitter. If that ink is shame, the story will be heavy. If that ink is love, even the darkest chapter can reveal the light. It's not about denying what happened. It's about refusing to chain yourself to it. It's about recognizing that the wound may be real, but the suffering, the identity built upon it, is optional. Carl Jung said, "I am not what happened to me. I am what I choose to become." And in those words lives your emancipation. The moment you stop rehearsing your victimhood is the moment you begin remembering your divinity. You were never here to be broken. You were never here to live in reaction. You were never here to make your pain your personality. You were here to awaken. Awakening begins when you no longer seek justice from the outside world, but instead offer liberation to yourself from within. When you stop pointing to what they did and begin asking yourself, who am I without this pain? Who am I when I release this? You are the sky, not the storm. You are the soul, not the scar. You are the observer of the wound, not the wound itself. You don't need to wear what happened as a costume anymore. You don't need to prove how deeply you've been hurt in order to deserve peace. You already deserve peace. You already deserve joy. You already deserve freedom. The victim label is not a pathway to healing. It is a detour from it. To heal is not to forget, but to stop using what happened as your identity card, to stop introducing yourself to the world through the door of your pain, to stop making others responsible for your peace, and to return home to the infinite sanctuary of the now. The present moment doesn't remember your past. It doesn't carry your labels. It doesn't ask for your history. It only asks for your presence. It only asks that you show up now as the essence behind the name. You are not a title. You are not your past. You are not a victim. You are a being of light with the power to drop every story that never served your expansion. Even the story of why I can't. Even the story of what they did. Even the story of how broken I've become. Because, truthfully, you've never been broken. You've only believed that your experiences shattered something inside of you. But what is eternal cannot be broken. And your spirit is eternal. Your awareness is whole. Your essence cannot be destroyed by what happens in the temporary realm of form. Yes, the body can bruise. Yes, the mind can ache. But the soul is invincible. And that soul has never labeled you a victim. It only ever whispered, come home. Come home to the silence beneath the chaos. Come home to the awareness that sees through the illusion of me versus them. Come home to the stillness that doesn't need a story to feel worthy. Come home to the power of choosing again. And if you must wear a label, wear one that liberates. Call yourself peace. Call yourself love. Call yourself awakened. You've held on to the wound for long enough. Now hold on to the healing. You've worshiped the pain with your attention. Now worship the freedom that comes when you release it. And understand this, forgiveness is not weakness. It is the boldest declaration that you will no longer be governed by what they did. When you drop the label, you rise. When you drop the label, you breathe again. When you drop the label, you become available to the grace that has always been trying to reach you. You don't need to seek revenge. You don't need to prove you were right. You don't need to re-explain the story of how you were wronged. You are not here to convince anyone of your pain. You are here to transcend it. You are here to remember that you beneath the story, to remember that you are more than this moment, to remember that you are not defined by how someone else failed to love you. You are not a victim. You are a vessel of the divine. And vessels were never meant to carry poison. Drop it. Drop the bitterness. Drop the blame. Drop the false badge of honor that comes with being the one who was hurt. Your power is not in your history. It is in your presence. And your presence is the only place where love lives. Let this be the moment, not tomorrow, not someday. The moment you release the need to be seen as the one who was harmed. Instead, be the one who healed. Be the one who transcended. Be the one who walked away from the ashes and chose to live again. You owe yourself that. You owe yourself the grace of freedom. You owe yourself the silence that doesn't need to explain. You owe yourself the truth, the deepest truth, that the victim label was never yours. You borrowed it, you wore it, and now you return it. You do not need it anymore. You never did. And when you drop that label, something subtle begins to awaken within you, a stillness that doesn't seek validation, a peace that doesn't require explanation. It is as if your soul finally exhales. The war you've been fighting within yourself to be understood, to be vindicated, to be seen as wounded dissolves, because you no longer need to be wounded to be worthy. You no longer need to be broken to deserve attention. You no longer need to suffer to justify your existence. You begin to see that life was never against you, that the universe was not punishing you, that the pain you experienced was not a judgment, but an invitation to wake up, an invitation to remember who you truly are, beneath the debris of your conditioning, beneath the noise of your mind, beneath the armor of your survival story. Yes, you survived, but now you must go further. You must transcend. You must move from surviving to thriving, from coping to creating, from carrying your pain like a banner to setting it down like a burden that never truly belonged to you, because you were never the experience. You were always the experiencer. You are the awareness, not the event. And once you make that shift, once you realize that you are not the storm, but the sky that holds it, you are free. So many walk through life unconsciously guarding their pain, protecting their victimhood as if it were a treasure. They wear their scars as currency, as reasons for why they can't be whole. But there is no healing in that. There is only repetition. There is only reliving. There is only the slow erosion of the soul under the weight of stories never released. You are allowed to stop repeating the past. You are allowed to drop the need to explain it. You are allowed to outgrow your own narrative. You are allowed to look in the mirror and see someone who is no longer trapped in the old script, someone who has rewritten the story, not with denial, but with divine authorship. You are not dishonoring your past by letting it go. You are honoring your present by finally being in it. Let the past teach you, but never let it define you. Let it refine your character, but never reduce your spirit. Let it awaken compassion, but never become a prison. The ego feeds on comparison and identity, and nothing offers the ego more certainty than the role of the victim, because it grants you a place, a script, a reason for why things are the way they are. But the soul doesn't care for scripts. The soul only seeks freedom. And to be free is to let go of the need for roles. You are not here to live as a character in a play that was written by someone else's mistake. You are here to create your own light, not relive someone else's darkness. You are here to return to the self that existed before the pain, before the roles, before the memories you rehearsed until they became your identity. You are here to embody the truth that your essence is untouched by anything that happened in form. That which is real in you, the spirit, cannot be harmed, cannot be diminished, cannot be broken. Everything else is just story, and stories can be rewritten. The label you wear is not neutral. It is a magnet pulling towards you experiences, beliefs, people, and emotions that reinforce it. And the moment you shift that label, the universe responds. The energy you emit changes. The people you attract shift. The opportunities before you expand. Because energy follows identity. If you carry the frequency of a victim, you will draw to you reasons to stay one. But if you radiate the energy of wholeness, of radical self-responsibility, of present moment awareness, then the very world around you rearranges itself to reflect the truth you've claimed. This is not philosophy, this is vibrational law. Your inner declaration determines your outer reality. So what do you choose? Do you choose to stay bound to the familiar pain of your past? Or do you choose to walk naked into the light of your own, becoming free from the costume, free from the mask, free from the story? There is no liberation in waiting for someone else to fix what they broke. There is no freedom in hoping for an apology that may never come. There is only stagnation. There is only delay. There is only the slow theft of your present moment by the hands of ghosts. Stop waiting. You do not need permission. You do not need justice. You do not need closure. You need only one thing: release. Release of the belief that you are owed something in order to be whole. Release of the identity that says your power is dependent on anyone else's behavior. Release of the ego that clings to pain like a name badge. Release of the lie that your suffering is what makes you important. You are not here to be important through pain. You are here to be free through truth. And truth is simple. You are not your labels. You are not your memories. You are not your victimhood. You are not your defense mechanisms. You are not the reaction of a hurt child living inside an adult body. You are the space in which all of that exists. You are the light that sees it without judgment. You are the awareness that chooses again. Choose again. In every moment you can return. Return to the breath. Return to the stillness. Return to the vast inner sky that watches without attachment, that loves without condition. You are not here to replay the old tapes. You are here to rise. You are here to bloom. You are here to dissolve the illusion of separation from others, from yourself, from the divine. And victimhood is the great illusion of separation. It is the belief that you are powerless, abandoned, hurt beyond repair. It is the ego's greatest trick to convince you that the world is responsible for your inner state. But the soul knows better. The soul does not wait for someone else to make peace possible. The soul is peace. It brings peace to every room it enters. It brings peace to every memory it revisits. It brings peace to every past version of you that still lives in the shadows. You are not the one who suffered. You are the one who survived. But even survival is not your full name. You are the one who awoke. And awakening doesn't mean forgetting the pain. It means remembering who you are in the presence of it. It means knowing you are not limited to the role you played in someone else's drama. It means choosing to live in alignment with the deeper I am, not I am hurt, not I am broken, not I am waiting, but simply I am. That's where your freedom lives, in that sacred space, not in the past, not in the revenge, not in the justice, but in the eternal I am that never needed to defend itself, never needed to wear a label, never needed to be anything other than light. You are light. You are breath. You are the formless, dancing through form. The pain was real, but it was never the end of your story. It was the beginning of your remembering. And now in this moment, right here, you remember. You remember that your identity is not found in what they did. It is found in what you choose to be now. You remember that your past is a teacher, not a prison. That your wounds are doorways, not destinations. That your essence is greater than any experience you've endured. You remember, and in remembering, you are made new. You are reborn, not as someone who never hurt, but as someone who finally refused to carry the hurt as an identity. And in that refusal, you are free. There is a sacred turning point on the path of every soul, a quiet hour when the wound no longer defines you. When the story starts to fall away, not because you forget, but because you no longer need it. It's not an explosion. It's not an announcement. It's not even a dramatic moment of realization. It is a soft shift, a surrender, a decision made in stillness. I am done identifying with pain. You feel it first in your body, a lightness, a breath that goes deeper than usual, like your lungs remembered how to expand without sorrow at the edges. Your shoulders drop, your jaw softens. Your heart, so long guarded by the armor of being wronged, begins to open again. Not because the world suddenly became safe, but because you chose to stop living in defense of what already happened. And in that moment, you realize something profound. You do not need to be hard to be strong. You do not need to be right to be free. You do not need to win the invisible courtroom in your mind where you replay the arguments and prove your pain to a jury that does not exist. You only need to be present, awake, aligned. Your strength is not in how tightly you hold the story, it's in how courageously you let it go. It takes courage to drop your victim label because the world taught you that your pain gave you value, that your trauma gave you depth, that your story was your currency in the marketplace of human connection. But what if your true value was never in what happened to you? What if your true depth was always in your capacity to transcend it? What if connection, real connection, was never built on pain, but on presence? The most magnetic people are not those with the most dramatic stories. They are those who have walked through fire and no longer smell of smoke. They are those who have forgiven not just others, but themselves for believing they were unworthy, for holding on too long, for shrinking to fit inside a label that was never meant to hold their greatness. You do not need to keep explaining your pain in order to feel seen. You do not need to keep revisiting the past in order to honor it. You do not need to keep identifying with the old self in order to prove that you've grown. True transformation is silent. It is internal. It does not seek approval, applause, or acknowledgement. It only seeks truth. And truth is always simple. You are already free. You just have to stop choosing chains. Every time you retell the story of how they hurt you, you anchor it deeper into your nervous system, deeper into your identity. But when you stop telling it, when you release the need to be the one who was harmed, a space opens within you. A space large enough for peace, a space still enough for grace, a space holy enough to remember that you are not here to relive, you are here to live. Life is not waiting for you in the courtroom of past grievances. It is waiting in the unoccupied temple of this very moment. Every second you spend arguing for your limitations is a second stolen from your liberation. And you were not born for chains. You were born to be light, to be movement, to be grace in motion. The victim label is not just a word. It's a frequency. And you cannot hold that frequency and expect to rise into joy. You cannot walk forward while dragging the emotional weight of what they didn't give you. You cannot embrace love while clinging to the story of your abandonment. You must choose. You must choose the voice of your soul over the voice of your wounds. You must choose truth over justification, peace over vengeance, healing over familiarity. Because yes, suffering can be familiar. Blame can feel safe, but only because the unknown feels terrifying. And what is the unknown? Freedom. Not the kind of freedom that screams or demands, but the kind that slips into the room like a breeze through an open window, unannounced, subtle, gentle, and entirely transformative. This is the kind of freedom your soul craves. It does not want to keep proving your innocence. It does not want to keep debating your worth. It does not want to stay stuck in cycles of proving, pleasing, punishing, or performing. It only wants one thing, to be light, to be love, to be here fully without the weight of history pressing on your chest. You don't have to wait until you feel ready. You don't have to wait until you're healed perfectly. You don't have to wait until someone finally understands. You are allowed to rise now. You are allowed to release now. You are allowed to drop the mask of the victim and step into the truth of the victor, not one who conquered others, but one who conquered their own illusions. This is your true victory. The moment you remembered that what happened does not define who you are. The moment you understood that love was never gone, it was just buried beneath the rubble of your resentment. The moment you stopped asking, why did this happen to me? And started asking, what is the lesson my soul chose this for? And suddenly the whole landscape changes. You are no longer a victim of the story. You are the author. You are no longer the echo of pain. You are the voice of wisdom. You are no longer waiting. You are walking forward, whole, sovereign. You are free. So now, stand at the edge of the old identity. One last look, one last breath, one final whisper to the past. Thank you for the lessons, but I no longer live here. Because you don't. You don't live in the wound. You don't live in the memory. You don't live in the resentment, the waiting, the proving, the needing. You live here in this breath, in this stillness, in this unrepeatable moment of choice. And what a gift that is, to realize that freedom was never something outside of you. It was never locked in another's hands. It was never dependent on their apology, their understanding, their redemption. It was always yours. You see now what was always true. No one else can liberate you. No one else can walk you out of your pain. No one else can remove the label that you've worn like armor. Only you can do that. And the moment you choose to truly, sincerely, without condition, the universe meets you with grace, you don't have to fight your way into freedom. You only have to stop resisting peace. Peace is your nature. It is not earned. It is remembered. And remembering is the final act of letting go. Letting go of the need to make sense of it all. Letting go of the illusion that your past was a mistake. Letting go of the bitterness that became a shield. Letting go of the voice that told you you're not safe without pain. You are safe. You are whole. You are home. Because home was never a place. It was never another person. It was never a condition in the world. It was always the unshaken presence within you, the still point at the center of every storm, the knowing behind your thoughts, the light behind your eyes. Return there now, not as someone broken who needs fixing, but as someone sovereign who remembers their original wholeness. This is the you before the labels. This is the you before the fear. This is the you before the narrative took hold. The you that is pure awareness, pure presence, pure being. And from this place, there is nothing to protect. There is nothing to defend. There is no identity to uphold, only truth, only peace, only love. And love, true love, does not recognize the label of victim. It sees only the beloved. It sees only the light. It sees only the soul that forgot and has now returned. So let the old name fall. Let it slide off your spirit like a garment that no longer fits. Let it return to the earth. Let it dissolve, because you do not need it anymore. You have no need for sympathy. You have no need for defense. You have no need for the story to be told again. You have risen, not because of what happened, but because of what you chose. You chose healing. You chose peace. You chose presence. You chose truth. And that is all that ever mattered. You are not your past. You are not your pain. You are not what they did. You are not what you lacked. You are not the voice that said you're not enough. You are not the mask you wore to survive. You are the light. You are the awareness. You are the love that was never lost. You are the one who remembered. You are not a victim. You are free.